Hey everyone, I'm Cameron with SpeedCubeShop.com. Today I'm going to be walking you guys through MoYu's all-new 7x7, the AoFu WR M. Let's take a look. So getting into the cube itself, I have to say that off the bat, I was incredibly surprised to literally have this randomly show up in the mail. You guys saw the YouTube short I posted. This just literally showed up on my doorstep one day, which was a very pleasant surprise. So it's pretty cool that MoYu is reinventing the AoFu line, because the AoFu 7x7 used to be the undisputed best 7x7 of all speed cubes back in my day, as they would say. But no, seriously, the AoFu was like the king of 7x7s, and then the Spark came along and kind of just wiped it off the face of the planet pretty much, and now we have the AoFu WR M. So I'm really curious, does this hold up against the Spark? Is it better? Is it worse? We'll talk about that a little bit more in the end, but this video isn't really so much about which one's better, which one's worse. I'm gonna tell you about the AoFu, and I will give you some of my thoughts about the Spark compared to the AoFu, and I'll be curious to see if that helps you guys form an opinion. Running through the specs, the AoFu WR M is 65 millimeters and weighs a very lightweight 164 grams. I have to admit that there's something about the size and the weight combo that really works for the AoFu. I was absolutely shocked when I picked up the Spark, even like the MGC, and this just feels a lot lighter and just kind of easier to turn and handle. So really big fan of the lightweight design. MoYu also notes that the AoFu comes with enhanced stickerless shades. Honestly, they may be enhanced, but I'm not really noticing anything too different other than what they normally do. I would say that maybe the blue is a little bit darker, and maybe I think that's maybe it. So maybe it's the blue, but if you notice it, let me know in the comment section down below what's changed. Aside from the color scheme, MoYu also added what they call an enhanced lube storage system. Not entirely sure what that means. There is a diagram if you're interested on the product page for this, which I'll have linked somewhere up here, but it looks like that just with the way the pieces are formed, that maybe the lubricant is kind of more evenly distributed, and I guess the name would imply that it's stored in the pieces, but I don't really know how that would work, because if it's stored, how would it know when to come out? And it's kind of a little bit of I don't know, gives me a little bit more of a headache, which I don't need right now. So if anyone has any more detailed knowledge on how the lube storage system works, feel free to leave it in a comment down below. So that about sums it up for the overview and new features that the AoFu brings to the table. Now, everything I just said is all yours for $49.95 at the time of recording. I was pretty happy with the price. I mean, when you look at it compared to the Spark, it's about $10 cheaper. So I would say off the bat, that's already a pretty solid price point for a flagship 7x7. But with that all being said, let's move into the accessories. Accessories for this one are super easy. You pretty much get a screwdriver and a nice box, and that's it. So very simple on the accessories. As far as versions go, there's only a stickerless bright model available right now. I have not heard of any plans to release a black plastic version in the foreseeable future, but I don't really think that's gonna be too missed. So right now we have the stickerless bright, which has the split piece design, I guess. So it's no choice of primary or black internals, it's just the split piece design right here. As far as adjustment goes, the AoFu is pretty simple. You have a center cap that pops off with relative ease once you can kind of get your fingernail underneath there. And then you have just a screw spring structure, just like old school cubes, which again, it comes pretty evenly tensioned out of the packaging, so you shouldn't have to mess with it too much depending on your preference. But I do kind of wonder if a dual adjustment system will ever come to 7x7 technology, because I mean, looking in there, there's not really a whole lot of space, so I'm not really too sure how that would work. But let me know in the comment section if you think that a dual adjustment system will be coming to the 7x7 technology in the future. Curious to hear your thoughts. Out of the box performance was honestly pretty good. The cube had a kind of dry, scratchy feeling, and it was insanely fast. The inner layers, so the very innermost, the second innermost layer, were very fast, borderline too fast, while the outer layer was really quick, but I wouldn't say it was uncontrollable. The cube did have a overwhelmingly loose feel to it, which is kind of been a trend with new speed cubes lately. I noticed they tend to come really loose out of the box, which if you're a super accurate turner, it's not really that big of a deal. But if you tend to overshoot, then you might be like locking and binding a little bit more than usual. And even in general, another point of having a loose cube that can be a bit of a detriment is if you accidentally like pull, which is kind of hard to describe, but I've seen some speed cubers like pull and like tug on the cube as they're solving. It kind of creates the pieces to like separate a little bit more and bind. So bottom line is it was really loose out of the box, had a good feel to it. It was really fast, but it didn't seem like it was too much, like the EDU, for example. But yeah, it had a really good feel out of the packaging. So I did decide to give this cube a mild setup, and I applied a little bit of Galaxy lubricant and Martian to the innermost layers to try to kind of create more of an even feel, because out of the box, there was a little bit of a speed discrepancy where the very inner layer was substantially slower than like the second inner layer. So I tried to get those to be a little bit more of an even feel, but I did go with Martian on the outer layer just to retain that really fast turning feel, because everyone agreed around the office that the outer layers just felt awesome. So I didn't really want to slow them down too much. I did decide to tighten the AoFu down by a few turns, not a crazy amount, but just enough to where I still have a really nice, snappy corner cutting feel, which is plenty, I think, for most speed cubers. But the cube itself feels just a lot more stable and just honestly like better to turn, in my opinion. One sacrifice with tensioning the 7x7 was I did notice that the inner layers got substantially slower than they were out of the box, even before the lubricant was added. It may or may not be a big deal depending on your turning style. I personally don't really mind it because my goal was just to get the inner layers kind of like a similar turning speed, which I think I succeeded in doing. And it's nice because when you turn the outer layers, they don't really turn like on their own. So I'm pretty happy with the results there. The magnet strength is like a light moderate feel, which I think complements the turning feel really nicely. It's not too overpowering and too snappy to where it's kind of like exhausting to turn, but you can definitely feel that the magnets are working and serving a purpose. So with that all being said, I think that for $49.95, the AoFu WR M is a really solid package for a lot of aspiring speed cubers of just about any skill level. I'm a big believer that if it's in your budget, there's no point in like forcing yourself to start with a entry-level 7x7 and like kind of torture yourself when you can enjoy a higher quality puzzle. So I do really think that the AoFu was kind of a necessary improvement in the 7x7 market. Compared to the Spark, it is my preference. Again, for the $10 reduction in price over the Spark, the more stable feel, it just feels a lot better and it's less money. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with the AoFu in my opinion. One weird thing about the Spark was how much just larger and heavier it felt over the AoFu after using the AoFu for a few solves. One weird thing about the Spark that's very hard to explain is it kind of felt mushy, and like as I was moving it, it would kind of like bind, and it almost felt like it just wasn't that stable, I guess would be a good way to describe it maybe. I was a pretty big fan of the Spark up until the AoFu came out, and honestly, I didn't really even pay it too much attention. I didn't really realize how much of an improvement there could be over 7x7 technology. So I have to say that everything considered, I think the AoFu is probably the best 7x7 right now available. And I think that now X-Man is gonna have to play catch up to now beat the AoFu. Again, this is all my opinion though, so if you have any opinions of your own, feel free to share them in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to get back to you guys and continue the discussion down there. If you wanna pick up an AoFu WRM, we have them available in the description box down below or in a card somewhere up here. You can pick them up from SpeedCubeShop.com and support myself and the channel. If you want more content like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button and slap a like on the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.